Hey guys, welcome to this month's episode of Afterhours Drop Off, where we are covering Behind the Mask, the Rise of Leslie Vernon, as part of our Behind the Mask month. So, I hope you enjoy this episode.
If you like what you see here, you like all the things that Women in Horror have to offer, make sure to stab the like button down below. Also subscribe. Dave, I gotta ask you, where's the beer?
Oh, we got something new this episode.
If you mean coffee at 8:30 at night, I think I have a problem.
I hope you're not going to be buzzing all night.
I'm old. I'm old.
Well,
this is a problem.
You're in for a treat. This is decaf.
Oh.
And this is by Deadly Grounds, but we'll talk about them after we have our episode.
Oh, okay. Good enough. So, you had me watch Behind the Mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
On this episode of After Hours Drop Off, we sit down to discuss Behind the Mask, the Rise of Leslie Vernon, after Charlie has watched for the first time. This is a tale of a boy, Leslie Vernon, who returns after 20 years to seek his revenge on a small town in Maryland, Glen Echo Falls. Only this situation is unique. Leslie is being documented by a group of film students who want to see the other side of a slasher.
Taylor Gentry, a journalist, grad student, is walking down a street in Glen Oak, filming the opening of a documentary on Leslie Vernon, a farm boy who was taken from his home and thrown over Nellis Falls, and has returned 20 years later to seek revenge on the town, following in the footsteps of Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers. Taylor is joined by two crew members, Doug and Todd. They arrive at Leslie's home for their opening interview with an animated Leslie Vernon, who invites them into his home with open arms. After a quick tour, they sit down for an interview where Taylor asks, "Is it about terrorizing innocent people?" Leslie chuckles and tells Taylor that she came to him to see how serial killers do what they do and not why. And he cannot just reveal his secrets on the first night that they're together. It has to come from her understanding of it.
There's a fine line between, when you're paying homage and making a piece of art and basically ripping somebody off or kissing a little bit too much behind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like almost, yeah, I don't know how to really word it.
I don't want to take us too far off track.
I don't either.
I get what you're saying.
This is my initial reaction when I was over. This movie my mood changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because I think it's that kind of movie where there's, what I did like, again, one of the things I really liked about it, I think I gotta watch it again. Like Pet Sematary, it was like, this is a piece of art, and I really dig it. Omen, same sort of thing. It's a movie, it's a flick. It's just boom, A to B. Yep. This is like, it's almost like there's three different movies kind of happening at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. And to your point on this expand the universe and paying homage to other movies, there is that fine line, because there's the fine line of actually respecting it, and then there's stealing from it to make it your own movie.
And I thought, like, it was that. This is where I thought it was. For a split second, I was like, "Don't let this be a college film where they're just like, we're going to mention Freddy Krueger. He's going to get us all kinds of cred."
Over the remaining 2 days, Leslie introduces the first 3 steps in staging his vengeance. Step 1, the anchor. That night, Leslie takes the crew to the farmhouse, which will serve as the anchor to his legend. He tours the grounds with them, telling them that he has been preparing it for years for the upcoming night. Step 2, the target group. The next day, Leslie and the crew are parked across the street from a high school. He explains that once a location has been established, you need to find the target group, a tightly knit group that will serve as the supporting cast to the survivor girl, a virgin, who might just walk away from that night alive. And then step 3, the flyby. So this is where we arrive at the diner in the opening scene where Leslie reveals who his survivor girl is, a young waitress named Kelly Curtis. Leslie tells the crew that they're not to talk to her at any point from this point on. He then coaxes Taylor into helping him set the stage for making his presence felt with Kelly.
When I started hearing his terminology when he mentions like a survivor girl and all that kind of stuff, oh, that's an industry term. That's when I first was like, this is the Scream part of it. This is the one where they pulled from that, where it kind of gives you a little bit behind the camera sort of thing. 'Cause that's how Scream was. There was this horror expert who was just calling all the spot. He doesn't, scary movies don't bother him because it's all, there's a formula and all that kind of stuff. And it's almost like this is the same thing, although rather than it be a movie, you're in the universe, and this guy's dissected how these, boogeymen basically do what they do. Yeah. And that there's a science behind it.
Yeah, and I wonder up until this point here, now you have Taylor, you have the two cameramen, you have Todd and Doug, and they're just going along with it, and they're like, oh, all right, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. Hey, let me pull the brick with the string. It's not a problem.
Oh, and they legitimately they get into it.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but they become friends.
Yeah.
They're clearly buddies by, towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, and I don't think it's kind of sinking in. It's like, maybe this is a joke. Just trying to put myself in that their shoes there is like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of help you set up this girl here. So it's like, are they falling for a trick here in their mindset at this point, or are they actually, going along with it to kind of help, Yeah.
I think the movie did what it's supposed to do. I'm only mentioning it. I'll talk about it more probably in the next segment, but because it was at this point when I started having different theories, because I'm like, one of them being like, oh, they legitimately are just documenting this person and they're going along with it. But then there's this other part of me where I'm like, no fucking way. Like, this guy is a goof. He heard about this lore and he's pranking on these, and I'm thinking he's not. Basically, I'm thinking he's not the boogeyman. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
The next day, Leslie introduces the crew to his mentor, Eugene, a retired slasher from the 60s and 70s, who talks about how the game has changed and what separates the flash-in-the-pan killers from the legends and how they've elevated the game, such as Jason, Freddy, and Michael.
And I'm thinking, they're going to go out to like a creepy shed or something like that. And then it's like he starts digging. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then but it wasn't like cheesy. Like I was, again, without ever seeing it, not knowing anything about the movie, I'm like, I'm waiting for the cheese factor to hit. Like, is he going to rise out of this thing like a fucking vampire? Like, is he going to be like a nose for? Like, I don't know. Honestly, like it could have went in at any point at any point in the first 2/3 of this movie, the first two acts, it could have made a left or right hand turn like that for me, and I would have been like, maybe. Maybe they're going somewhere weird with this. And I'll tell you exactly why that is. Because Leslie is a goofball.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to ask you if it was because he's a goofball.
He's a goofball, and it was like almost it's very lighthearted. Basically up until, I think something that happens in the next scene, if I'm not mistaken. Or the next segment. A lot of that in this episode. But anyway, and I like how nonchalant, his wife, Jamie, is just like very matter of fact, like, oh yes, the boys, or whatever.
She's totally.
We have a company picnic once a year,
They probably do,
Yeah. Well, he really talks about it like it's an industry.
Yeah.
Like he's taking him under his Leslie under his wing, and like it's almost like an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Like they're steel workers or something like that. Yeah. Or, I don't know. Like, that's how I felt.
He's the struggling serial killer trying to make a career and rise up, and here he has...
It's the old-timer that's kind of like, oh, back in my day it was different.
Step 4, the preliminary strike. That night, Leslie leads the crew to what will be his first reveal with Kelly at a local library. He explains that he has planted a fake news article for her to find. Kelly finds the article about her great-uncle, a suspect in the rape of Molly Vernon over 20 years ago. She shows it to the librarian, Mrs. Collingwood, who then leads Kelly to the archives where she tells the tale of an abused boy forced to live in a cider house and had to till the fields with only a hand scythe, until one day he revolted. He killed his mother's husband, and then hung her from the trees in the apple orchard. When the murders were uncovered, the townsfolk found Leslie and threw him over the falls. Kelly screams as she looks up to see a man in a mask pulling the scythe from the back of Mrs. Collingwood. "Leslie!" shouts a second man in a long trench coat from the back of the library with his gun drawn. He fires a shot, nicking Leslie in the shoulder and causing him to flee. Leslie and the crew head back to Eugene's to celebrate that night's festivities and the appearance of his personal Ahab, Doc Halloran, his childhood psychiatrist. A confused Taylor asks, "What's the importance of Ahab?" And Leslie explains that Doc represents all the good and will risk everything to bring him to justice. Here you have Taylor and the crew. They're all excited. They're going into this scene. Now,
how does nobody hear her?
Exactly.
They're loud.
Yeah, they are.
They're fucking loud. And they're like 10 feet from Kelly.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
well, Zelda's old and Kelly gets it, so.
But it's a closed library, bro.
Yeah, It's a movie.
Listen, I'm all about suspension of disbelief. I got you. But it's a closed library. And it's not even Taylor so much. It's the fucking assholes behind the camera. He's got great taste.
Yeah. I think it was Todd. Todd seemed to be the goofy one of the two there. That guy, he was the one that's making all the comments and stuff like that.
Fat guys are funny.
Yeah,
he wasn't too big.
I'm gonna take some liberties here. He's one of us, so it's okay. We're in the same club. He could say it about me too.
Yeah. So we have Zelda telling the tale of Molly Vernon, the clever setup. So, like, if it was a fake news article, so I'm imagining that Molly Vernon was really raped, and there was really a child that was born. And it's just that he put a new name, to the tale.
Right. But still kind of crazy that she walked right to the Dewey Decimal System and just, what's this?
Yeah.
Well, whatever. It's a movie.
Oh, yeah, and she's like, oh, by the way, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's over in microfiche. We might have this one still. Yeah. What if you didn't? You're gonna boot up the computer, Grandma? Like,
yeah, I thought the execution of that scene was really good, and then the introduction of Doc Halloran.
Robert Englund.
Yeah, Robert Englund comes in playing a different style of role than he normally does.
He totally steals every scene that he's in. I thought he shot Kelly when he takes that one shot, and I guess he gets what's his nuts in the shoulder. I thought he hit her at first, and I was like, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, now Zelda gets snuffed out pretty quickly.
He does kill her, right?
Yeah, he does kill her.
I don't know. They didn't. I know he said he was gonna, and you never see her again. So I'm like, okay, maybe I missed something.
Yeah,
they didn't make a big deal of it.
It is a scene that you kind of have to watch back, I think, because he's standing behind her as Kelly screams, and he rips the scythe out from her back.
That's all you see.
That's all you see.
I didn't. Yeah.
And then we pick up right away.
I was confusing because, I guess Taylor and her crew didn't notice because they didn't seem fazed by that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Right.
Is they leave the library, and they're all celebrating, and you see Leslie and his boyish nature jumping up and down like, we got an Ahab, and she's screaming too. It's like, woo! I don't know what I'm yelling about, but this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then when they go to Eugene's place to celebrate there and fill him in, and they're watching the playback, I would imagine in the playback they would have caught her getting killed. The following day, the crew sets out on their own. They arrive at the diner to speak with Kelly, and unknowingly encounter Doc Halloran, who questions why they have been following Kelly. He reveals to them that Leslie is not who he thinks that he is. He's Leslie Mancuso, and he is from Reno, Nevada. Kelly comes back over and asks what the problem is, and the crew quickly leaves the diner, only to find Leslie leaning up against their van outside. He reminds them of their prior conversation of not interfering 2 nights earlier. Taylor challenges Leslie on the validity of his story, causing him to slam her against the van by her throat. He whispers to Taylor, he'll tell her everything, but if she only gets into the van. That night, Leslie reveals the truth to her and tells her that he will understand if she can no longer stay. The crew leaves. Taylor is distressed and uncertain if she's going to continue with the story. Taylor gets a little bit too mad about the betrayal here. That's not like, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this interview with you and you held down information on me. It's like, hey, you lied to me, like husband and wife type of stuff, or boyfriend and girlfriend type of stuff.
Right.
So she truly feels betrayed by him not revealing those little nuggets of information. And that van ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Best scene in the whole movie, I think, and you're going to disagree, but they're in the diner, and the girl who plays Kelly. So you never see that in any slasher movie. The initial interaction with the survivor girl and the killer. Yeah. And she gets away, and he disappears into the night, and they're going to meet up again the next day, right? Mm-hmm. What goes on the next day in the survivor girl's life? Like, she might have a job, and she looked like shit.
Well, somebody just got murdered at the library, right?
That's what I'm saying. They shouldn't. I mean, personally, I would have called out that day. Yeah. But the point is, she didn't, and she looked like crap. And the great thing, her hair's frazzled. Like, this is a well put together girl,
Yeah. That's a great catch.
And interestingly enough, it's going to spoil it a little bit, but I got to mention it. So they end up at the house inevitably, and they skip the scene, the inevitable scene that happens in all these movies, where the best friend goes, "Oh, come on, let's get you out of the house. Forget about it. It'll be fine." Yeah. You just get the part where they're already there. Yeah. You know what I mean? You skip the horror movie bullshit, basically, and you just get the
fluff is gone.
The fluff is gone, right? So you see Kelly, she's at work, and she's just like, "Can I get you guys anything?" Yeah. She didn't look at them at all, which I was like, that was kind of one of those little attentions to detail where I was like, I appreciated that.
It's morning, and at the Vernon farmhouse, Leslie looks on as the crew's van. Looks on as the crew's van cuts through the mist, heading in his direction. Taylor gets out of the van and tells Leslie that this is what she has chosen to do, and she will see it through. Step 4. Final preparation. Leslie walks them through the order of how he envisions the order of the kills will take place that night, and how he has staged the farm for it. Rigged flashlights, remote-controlled electricity, windows nailed shut, pre-cut tree limbs, and sabotaged weapons. Each detail carefully calculated to empower Kelly into the survivor girl role. Later that evening, Taylor looks on as Leslie prepares himself for the night. She asks if he loves Kelly. Leslie tells Taylor that he loves the idea of her and what she will hopefully find within herself. He then pauses with Taylor's response of, "What doesn't kill you will make you stronger." A short while after, they're both looking over the farm through a barn window. Leslie is silent, and he begins to cry, and he reveals that he is so happy, while a conflicted Taylor holds his hand to console her. It almost looks like he cares for her now, too. And he's kind of upset about what's going to happen.
No, I think he's crazy. I think he is absolutely in love with her and infatuated with her. And that was the moment when he was just about to get everything he ever wanted. Because psychopaths like that.
Oh, he's clinical.
They build these relationships. So, his ultimate goal is to make sure she can survive and all this other kind of shit. Him saying how happy he is, I think he legitimately is just like, he thinks in his mind, he's like sitting right next to the most important person in his life. Mm-hmm. And then she holds his hand on top of it. Yeah, and it's like this whole, this sick person who is just gushing with, what he thinks is the best relationship in his life. He might as well have found the love of his life.
The crew is hidden in the shadows of one of the rooms in the farmhouse, when Leslie climbs in through the window to reveal that the kids have arrived. He braces himself as two of the teens enter the room next to them, his first victims. Leslie slips into the next room, and the sound of his hand sights slicing through their bodies strikes a hard reality in with Taylor and the crew who are waiting for him to return. Leslie re-enters the room and sees the dread that has set over each of them and quickly leads them outside back to their van. He asks them to leave, but Taylor pleads with him to stop chasing after a fabricated ghost story. Leslie tells her that he made a choice to provide the counterbalance to all that is good and pure. This is what they were born to do. Taylor says goodbye, causing Leslie to silently fade backwards, pulling his mask over his face, and he walks back to the house. I don't know if you caught it, but I picked up on it right away where he's walking back to the house and he's just kind of slashing at sight.
He's pissed off.
Yeah, it's like I think he was thrown out of his mindset there for a minute and he's just trying to get that game face back on.
Yeah, this is the only part of the movie, I guess, up until the end, like, where like he's all about planning this whole night out. What if they did just get in the van and tear off? Like, what's the plan B at that point?
Yeah,
I guess. But yeah, no, that 100% I caught that he was like, but that goes back to, like, I think that the scene at the barn where they're sitting there and he's like, he's in love with her. Yeah, he's in love with her.
Well, yeah, the reaction just tells it.
Yeah,
he's absolutely silent after she says goodbye.
Yeah, and she cares about him.
Taylor tells Doug and Todd that they have to prevent Leslie from killing the teens, and they head to the house to warn everyone of what is about to transpire, and to protect Kelly. They search through the house, and they find Kelly inside having sex. It's obvious that she's not a virgin. Kelly quickly gets dressed and chases after them, asking why are they following her. Taylor explains to everyone that a man named Leslie Mancuso has been planning to kill them. A scream comes from the cellar, followed by a panic-stricken Lauren running up into the room and telling them that Pete was killed by a man in a mask. The teens panic, and Taylor cannot get them to leave. So the crew and them, they agree to speed up Leslie's plan in revealing their dead friends upstairs. However, when they go upstairs, there's no bodies. Leslie has adjusted the plan to account for the new pawns in his game. The girls, Kelly, led by Kelly, where we have Pete in the basement who was just killed, and they're not really panicking that much. Right. I'm thinking that their first reaction would be to get the hell out of the house, and they're not listening. So, the crew, Angela and the crew, have to come up with the idea, hey, let's show them some dead bodies. We're in Boys to the Hood now. So I was like, hey, you want to see a dead body?
Yeah, this is also the same girl that didn't call out from work the next day when she almost got killed in the library.
True.
So, I mean, here's what you got to remember.
Yep.
They are in a slasher movie universe. So they're stupid.
Two of Kelly's stone friends set out to find out if the legend of Leslie Vernon is real, causing Taylor and the crew to chase after them. Only they're too late when they arrive at the shed and see Leslie Vernon pulling a man's heart from his chest and dropping it in his hand with a post hole digger. The crew flees back to the house and attempt to leave with everyone in the van, but they find two more bodies. Leslie also has sabotaged the van because it won't start. Their only option is to hide in the house together. Taylor tells everyone that they must protect Kelly at all costs, because Leslie believes that she is the virgin and the survivor girl. Lauren takes a poke at her and begins arguing with Kelly, allowing Leslie to find where they're at. A frightened Kelly breaks the window, tries to climb out onto a nearby tree, and she falls to her death. The stoners, they always seem to get picked up in all these movies.
They're the best. Yeah, best characters in the movie.
Yeah. Hey, dude, let's go see if Leslie's real.
Scarecrow, bro.
Oh, yeah, that was a great line. and then he gets it.
He gets it, yeah. Right in the back.
Yeah.
That was cool. The movie does not have a overabundance of gore.
No.
But I really appreciate the creativity with some of the deaths. It's not crazy creative, but it's,
I think
the Bozo there I really dug.
I think this is something that we've kind of talked about in the last two movies, where we have good horror that doesn't need to up the gore factor,
right?
And it still works out. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely one of these movies. So,
are we at the part where they split up?
No, we're at the part where
just before that.
Yeah, well, Lauren's kind of jabbing at Kelly's like, "Hey, you're a virgin? Yeah, funny thing."
Oh, that's right. He calls her a bitch and all that kind of stuff.
So they start arguing again.
Calling back to what you said earlier. Yeah, like maybe. Yeah. That's kind of more where I kind of figured that was the case. It's like, I see.
Yeah, they totally telegraphed the whole location by arguing over who's the sluttier of the two, apparently. And she, tooth and nail, goes through the window. It kind of reminds me of the Texas Chainsaw scene where the one girl jumps through the window, and bam, it's 2 flights. I couldn't imagine her dying from 2 flights, but she did. She must have hit her head or landed on her neck the wrong way.
Depends.
So, Taylor and the crew are totally rocking at their job of saving these kids.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of just pushing them right into there.
There's nothing they can do. Yeah. There's nothing they can do. It's the universe that they live in.
Yeah,
I'm
true.
telling you.
Warn her about things with Taylor. Wait, don't.
Yeah.
So I thought about that.
Wait. Don't go.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very Willy Wonka, like, stop, no, come back. No, her hand was on the branch when they started saying stop. And he's like, what?
The crew and the remaining 2 teens decide to head to the barn. But Todd decides to split off from them and lure Leslie away. Only he does not get too far before Leslie catches up to him and kills him. Taylor, Doug, and the 2 teens reach the barn where they watch and wait for Leslie to approach. Taylor then begins to piece together the puzzle. That it was never about Kelly. It was about her all this time. Leslie has been staging her to be the survivor girl all along, from before the first frame was even shot.
I'm surprised they didn't actually show him snap his neck.
Yeah.
They alluded to it because you're just watching Leslie the whole time. The other thing is he slips and falls. He pulls Leslie's mask back.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for
He fanboyed out there, though.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I think so. It's like, Leslie, it's me, man. Why are you doing this? Like, we can be partners.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought he was trying to be buddies with him and try to, like, break him a little bit. And I, honest to God, thought for a second maybe that was actually going to work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't understand why they didn't show that particular death scene on camera. It seemed like a pretty pivotal, what should have been a really important kill, because he's the first one of the crew to die.
Yeah.
And he begged. He's begging him like, "Hey, we're buddies, man." Like I don't know. It was something that caught my attention.
Yeah. So let's talk about the barn scene. So Taylor pieced everything together. It's like, oh my God, and she talks about it was about her the whole time, and that he set everything up before they ever filmed their first scene. Yeah. Which kind of confused me a little bit.
No, that actually I thought explained things very, very well, because I'm like,
that's the why he let a document.
Yeah, why not so much why would they take him up on it, but why would he allow that to happen? It made that explain everything. What didn't make any sense is they never at any point in the movie bring light on anything personal with Taylor. At all. And then all of a sudden, now we know that she's never gotten any yum goodies.
The barn door opens and a person emerges from the shadows, only to be greeted by a shovel to the face. It was Doc Halloran. The teens run from the door into the clutches of Leslie, who kills them. Taylor and Doug try to escape, but Leslie has rigged the exits of the barn. He catches up to them, but Doc Halloran jumps in between and gets stabbed. Doug then tells Taylor to leave and confronts Leslie, only to be knocked unconscious by Leslie. Doug is kind of stepping up a little bit while the other teams get knocked off. He's like, all right, well, I'll take the bullet for you, essentially. Get the hell out of here. And Leslie doesn't kill him. He just smashes his head against the pole and leaves him there.
Which is funny because Todd is the one that's begging earlier. So why does he give him a pass?
So thinking about our conspiracy theories that we've kind of brought up in the last movie, but
they're real, man.
Is Doug potentially in on it? Taylor flees the cider house, and as Leslie has predicted, her fear has transformed into strength, and she's prepared to stand her ground. She lures him to the cider house, where a fight ensues, and Taylor gets the better of him. She traps his head in the cider press, sets the house on fire, and leaves Leslie to burn. Doug and Doc Halloran find a distraught Taylor watching the cider house burn, and Doug asks if Leslie is dead. Taylor responds that she doesn't know what he is, and Doc says that he's just a man. Only later we see Leslie sit up from the morgue table.
You mentioned about how he had the fire retardant gel on his face. That's a good thing to pick up on, and I'm still glad that you mentioned it. But that cider press is made of steel. That shit got hot.
Yeah,
that shit got hot.
Yeah. How the hell is he getting out of that? Right? Not
only just that, but just the fact that, like, you know, I don't care what kind of like Vaseline you put in your face, searing hot steel on you're it's gonna fucking leave a mark.
Well, let's think about this. Leslie has rigged everything.
True.
And he deliberately showed her the cider press. So that means the cider press had to be rigged. It had to have some sort of lever that he could press so that he could have gotten out of it.
Well, they do. They have a safety.
They do? Oh, I've never seen it.
I believe so, yeah. I could be making that up.
So he rigged weapons so that it
it
wouldn't kill him. So maybe when she did that final spin, it's when it released.
Possibly. So you're thinking she gets out and then he escapes when she's not looking.
Yes.
And then, but then what's with the charred body in the examining?
I'm sure he had to catch a little bit on fire, right? His clothes weren't fire retardant.
Yeah. And he does.
His skin was.
And again, another callback to a foreshadowing thing is when he talks about the reason they use that chamber is so they can train themselves into how to, when you have to pretend you're dead. And he said that Eugene thought it was Tuesday. It was actually Thursday. He'd been in there for 3 days or whatever he said it was, 2 days. Mm-hmm. So, by the time you get to the examination table, it could be 2 days, maybe 3 days, that sort of a thing. I felt like I didn't see his legs. It was tricky. It's because it's black and white and kind of green.
That's kind of right.
I kind of thought like maybe he didn't have legs on that examining table, but that's probably not true.
It's just probably the camera angle.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
I totally knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, when he sat up, it's like, oh my god, yes, yes. You being a music guy, the song at the end was great too. I think it just went out nice.
Oh, Talking Heads? Yeah, absolutely. Psycho Killer! Yeah, no, it's 100%. That's 2 movies in a row now that had great credit music. Pet Sematary had the Rose. Absolutely.
So, rating? What do you think?
Are we out of 5? We're doing out of 5, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay.
And it's not the movie's fault. Like I said, it was just.
Well, it's going up against Pet Sematary. In all
that's
honesty,
the other thing
right?
too. Like
so there's a bar set for you.
At this point, I love that movie. That was great. I like this movie a lot too. I really do. But if I found out tomorrow that all the stuff with them being in the universe and all that kind of stuff was completely intentional, which I feel like it is, it might be one of my favorite movies of all time, and I would change my rating.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that little things like I wish they could have, I don't know why I'm stuck on this. I wish they could have figured out a way to do Todd's death scene on camera.
So really, you think about that, if they change maybe his kill scene, that elevates it a little bit for you.
Little thing like that. I'm sorry I'm stuck on it, but I don't like the fact that they just brought up the Taylor's a virgin out of left field. Like, they just, like, it dawns on them. Like,
light bulb.
Even to the point to where, like, she's having the conversation with Leslie at one point earlier in the movie, and she's just not, at no point is she just like, I'm a virgin.
Now, I'll tell you guys, so we're gonna talk about a lot of cool things on Rewind. So we're gonna talk about the writer and the director and what they could do with this smaller script on an indie budget. We're gonna talk about Easter eggs. Did you see the Easter eggs in this movie? How many are there? There's a handful of them. So if you haven't caught those, go watch the movie again, and then when we talk about it on Wednesday, you'll be caught up with us. But until then, let's talk about this.
This is delicious coffee. This is Deadly Grounds.
That's not what you said.
I said that it wasn't beer.
No, you said it was fucking good.
I did say it was fucking good. It is fucking delicious. It really is. It's the best. I'm not a bullshitter. I think you people know that by now. This is the best decaf coffee. I didn't realize I was going to be drinking decaf today. This is the best decaf coffee I've ever had in my entire life. This tastes exactly like regular caffeinated coffee. I think my brain's playing a trick on me right now because I feel like it's caffeinated. Yeah. But I know it's not. Yeah. I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. But it's fucking delicious.
Now, there's a reason why it's decaf. I can only drink decaf, and it sucks. I go to the store, I go looking for something, and all they have is decaf. I liked flavored coffees. I like the Donut Shop, I like the Colombian brand, all that stuff. But none of it's in decaf. Mm-hmm. Deadly Grounds here has a huge selection in decaf.
That's great. That's a great thing.
It solves my problem. Yeah. But their coffee is damn good. Now, I wish I could try their regular strength coffee because I love caffeinated stuff.
I'm a little afraid to. I want to now because I do drink caffeinated coffee, but it's any consolation. I can't have caffeinated coffee. I'm showing my age. I can't have caffeinated coffee after like 2 in the afternoon. I won't sleep till like Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So at least the nice thing about this is then if you really like coffee, or since we didn't have beer and we drink the darker beers too, this kind of gives you that flavor and good taste.
It's really good. I'm impressed.
So they were nice enough to send us this package, which we thank you for that. And go on their website, which will be in the description down below. Check out their brands. Buy stuff from them. Their mugs are pretty cool, too.
Yeah, I dig them. How many hearts?
For the mugs? Oh, this is definitely 4.5 out of 5.
That's 4.5. What about the coffee?
The coffee? I would say I've had the hazelnut. I had that dark coffee there. That's definitely 5 out of 5.
The dark coffee is a 5 out of 5.
Yeah,
for being decaf. I can't.
You get an automatic 2 hearts just for having flavors in decaf.
That's fair enough.
So I get to have something, and I don't have to put creamer in it and screw up my stomach because I'm drinking creamer and coffee. Yeah, I like it black, guys, black.
Go out, click on the link, try some of this. This is the hazelnut. What's that one called? That one's the Midnight Joe. That's what we're drinking tonight. That is delicious. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you, and we will catch you on the rewind.